Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the mindset of Andrew Tate. We've taken a 20-minute speech he gave about unlocking your potential, and we've broken it down into a clear, visual philosophy. So, let's get right into it.
So how does this philosophy actually work? Well, we've structured it around 5 core ideas. First up is the other you, this vision of your ideal self. Then, we'll talk about the main tool you need to get there, discipline over feelings. After that, we're going to look at the kind of surprising role of the power of pain. Then we get into the worldview that holds it all together, life is war. And finally, we'll unpack what it means to have the winner's mindset.
Okay, so the entire philosophy really kicks off with this powerful mental exercise. You have to imagine an ideal version of yourself.
The speech asks you to really, truly picture this person, the you that would exist right now if, for the past 2 years, you had never made a mistake, never wasted a single second, and never skipped a day at the gym. According to this view, that person isn't some fantasy, they are the real you, just waiting to be unlocked.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. This slide frames the gap between who you are now and who you could be, and it's presented not as some fixed state, but as a direct result of your choices. It specifically points to what it calls monumental laziness as the single biggest thing holding you back.
So if the destination is becoming that ideal you, then how in the world do you get there? Well, this philosophy argues there's one tool that matters more than anything else: discipline. This quote right here, it really captures the central argument. The whole idea is that you have to separate your actions from your emotions to achieve anything great. It basically says that relying on how you feel is a luxury that just gets in the way of achievement.
So what's the key takeaway here? It's that discipline isn't some trait you're just born with. It's a muscle you have to build. Every single time you drag yourself to the gym when you don't want to, you're not just working out your body. You're actually strengthening your mind's ability to just override your feelings.
And this is a brilliant way to illustrate the point. According to this philosophy, you can have all the potential, all the talent, all the resources in the world. You can have that full tank of gas, but if you don't have the disciplined will to endure the long, hard drive, you're literally going to go nowhere.
Okay, next up, the philosophy introduces a pretty counterintuitive idea, the absolute necessity of pain and suffering. It argues that you shouldn't just expect hardship, you should actually welcome it. This pop culture reference is used to make a really powerful point. Hardship isn't just some obstacle you have to get over. In this view, it is the very thing that forges greatness. Pain is literally the catalyst for your transformation. So according to the speech, pain gets completely redefined. It's not a bug, it's a feature. It's presented as a required element for you to grow, just like an element in some kind of chemical reaction. The point is, without it, the transformation into your ideal self is simply impossible. This brings us to the worldview that basically underpins this entire philosophy, the idea that all of life is a constant, unavoidable competition. It's a zero-sum game.
So according to this way of looking at the world, that career you want,
It's a war against every single other applicant who's fighting for that exact same spot.
The partner you want to find. Yep, that's a war against every other person out there. The core idea is that nothing is just given to you. Everything has to be won.
So the big takeaway here is that, from this perspective, life isn't some journey of cooperation or self-discovery. No, it's framed as a series of battles for scarce resources, whether that's status or wealth or relationships that you have to be prepared to fight for and win.
All right, so finally, let's look at the mindset you need to navigate this war and actually become that ideal version of yourself. It all comes down to a choice and a really radical sense of responsibility.
the speech presents this very stark choice. Would you rather go after a life of simple happiness and remain, in its words, insignificant, or would you accept stress and pressure and struggle as the price you have to pay to become great and important?
And this leads to the core principle of the winner's mindset. You have to take absolute, unconditional self-accountability for every single outcome in your life. It's a mental model that's basically designed to eliminate all excuses.
And that brings us to the final and most provocative idea from the speech. What if you decided to claim responsibility for everything, even things you obviously can't control, like the weather? The argument is that this mindset gives you the ultimate power. Why? Because if it's your fault, you're the only one who can fix it. So, from imagining an ideal self to embracing pain and taking total ownership, that's the philosophy in a nutshell. A framework for building a life where, in the end, you have no one to blame or to credit but yourself.